Okay, so we are live now on both Zoom and Facebook. Can we have Kenny back as well? So hello everyone who is joining us right now. So for today's session, hi Kenny. So for today's session, we'll be discussing about the applications of blockchain, and this is co-organized by TechNode Global and Alibaba Cloud. So just a very quick introduction, I'm Shuhui from TechNode Global. We are a pan-Asia tech media platform, and I will be moderating this session, which is joined by a panel of industry experts, as you can see from the slide. So today we have Kenny from AntChain, the blockchain business of Alibaba's financial affiliate. And then we have Shoant from TraX. They are a web and mobile application platform developed by XOX, which is a Malaysia-based mobile virtual network operator. And last but not least, we have Keith from Hearti Lab. They are a blockchain and AI startup offering micro insurances. So we'll be hearing from them very soon. But before that, let me just quickly run through some of the ground rules here. All attendees, you guys are in the listen mode only, and we welcome you to post your questions in the Q&A box below. And also for those who are watching this on Facebook, you can add your questions in the comment section as well. So along the way, as our speakers are presenting or as they talk, just feel free to submit your questions, and we'll try our best to cover all of them today during the Q&A segment at the later part of the session. And also you can upvote the questions, if you like them. So yeah, let's get things started with Shoant from TraX, who will be sharing with us the future of supply chain visibility. So over to you, Shoant. Remember to unmute yourself.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me. Thank you so much. So today we're gonna talk about the future of supply chain visibility, right? So when we talk about this visibility, this supply chain visibility, right? First thing they'll think of is basically blockchain traceability, right? So what are the platform out there that provide traceability as a technology and then brings direct benefits to the product owners themselves or the entire supply chains? This is our aim as a TraX, our goal to achieve, to help all these product owners to make all their supply chain visible and to bring direct benefits to them. So, are we showing our slide, right? So as you can see, sorry, am I showing my first slide right now? Actually, I cannot see.
Yeah, it's showing the first slide.
Okay.
The US $110 billion.
So as we can see, right, basically reported by WHO, right, around 110 billions were lost, basically on medical and food safety. Basically, this is what we think. That's one thing that we can help in the industry. Imagine the world of the fully digitized world, where we can actually have a unique code for every product, right? If we can do that, right, we can actually help to solve all this wasted money in the supply chain, basically, for the healthcare and food safety. So on the second slide, right, what I want to talk about is how they use traceability on toy as well. When people talk about traceability, they often talk about medicals and food safety. So another example that we can show, right, is basically they use it for toy. All these valuable toy, they make it traceable, they make it collectible, and with a certificates to show their values. Then on the third slide, what we want to talk another case study where they use traceability on art, how they implement traceability technology into art, combining RFID. So they call it Know Your Object. They're combining a blockchain technology and AI. So when they use the mobile phone, right, to scan the art, you actually kind of in a way recognize the art, and then combining with the available data to verify. Fourth, it will be how to implement traceability for art provenance. Usually, remember the art industry, right? They use all this manual way of recording who the owners and everything. So how can we use traceability technology to help the art industry into making all this valuable? Also, we talk about a case study how Tmall, I think this information are extracted from N Group, where all the product when they implement traceable to all the products, it actually increase sales and increase the trust by the users. Another case study we can see, right, is on how they implemented all this QR code onto products, right? Most of the products out there in the market right now, they have all these what do you call it, QR code when you can scan, and then it will show you all these products and how can we bring more benefit, right, direct to the consumer and the product owners itself. So on our past projects, we have worked with one of the largest mooncake supplier in Malaysia. So we helped them to implement traceable to all their mooncakes, and then we implemented a spin and win contest into the application. So when you receive the mooncake, right, and you're able to check where the mooncake are from, and then on the same time you are able to play a game to win certain rewards. So it was proven a very successful case study. Our first case study out from China, we got around 80% of conversion. It means basically every product we send out, right, 80% of the users scan the product to redeem the products. Actually, we got the data. And how we got the inspiration is basically from Alipay in China, how they do it in China. So using Alipay, when you scan a QR code on a product, right, basically it will show you the entire information of the product, and then you're able to play a lucky draw game. So you get free ang paos and free rewards from the marketplace itself. So I think have I done it in less than 10 minutes on this one?
No, in fact, yeah, I guess you're going too fast. I believe our audiences might have a lot of questions for you, or we'll appreciate if you can so-called go into more details for some of your case studies that you have mentioned earlier, like let's say for example your mooncake, or how the art industry can benefit. But of course, to audiences who are watching this right now, feel free to ask questions, share your questions in the Q&A box. And I think I saw somebody raising hand earlier. You might want to share your feedback in the Q&A box as well. Yeah. So maybe Shoant, is there any?
Yeah. Maybe let me just share a bit of how we operate as a TraX, right? So as we check, there's a lot of traceability platforms out there in the market. So a lot of them basically they talk a lot about the technology, the complexity of the technology, and on how to integrate the technology onto a product. Where we see the missing point of doing this is basically the product owners didn't see a huge ROI in this. Like basically once they implemented these technologies, right, usually are based on to own the rights. It's basically done by regulators or big companies to have in control of the supply chain. But what we feel in TraX, right, what we want to achieve, right, is to providing a very transparent data to not just the product owner, but to the consumer end itself. Basically, from the whole ecosystem, when they implemented this technology, right, they're able to leverage on both ends. For example, let's say on a consumer end, if I were to trace this product, right, what do I get at the end of the day, right? They could get a health report. They could get basically a reward after they scan. They could know where the source of the product. They would know what the ingredient of the product. With the product itself, we can actually work together with so-called health application, input this data together to let the consumer know that basically how much of nutrient they have consumed or how much of ingredient they have consumed. So that is always our concern in TraX, is to not just to implement a blockchain solution to a product, is to provide an end-to-end benefit for both ends, from the product owner, or anyone in the supply chain, from logistics to packaging to those who send, and then at the end of those who consume the product. That's our whole aim of TraX. let me get back to the case study that we have done previously, which is the mooncake. The reason why we want to use mooncake as a case study, right, is also because mooncake is a very, very traditional products in the market, and we want to prove to the market to say that basically, hey, you see, even one of the very traditional product, they will implement traceability technology, and what are the benefits to overseas or to these mooncake suppliers in the traditional way, right? Once the product are out from the factory or sent to their stockists and whatever, that is where they lost count. They lost the data. They don't know who consumed or who bought this product, right? But when implement these traceability technologies, right, well, we are allowing the product owner to know who are their client, to actually have a full set of information, right? How to improve on the logistics or the amount of quantity they produce, or even the taste of the product, how much saltiness they have to add in, how much sweetness they have to add in. All these comments, right, are very important for them to improve on their second batch or the next year production. Right? And that is how we propose it to one of very traditional mooncake supplier in Malaysia to implement this technology. For the first few weeks, right, they were very nervous and very for a lot of their board directors, right? They were kind of like, why should we adopt this kind of thing? We're gonna add in costs and stuff, right? What is the benefit gonna bring for us? So after we had done the entire process and everything, right? So it's actually quite amazing, right? At first they thought it's a very complex technology to do, but after they nod their head agree on this, right? It's basically very seamless. They basically show us one time in the factory, and then the rest is basically we tell them, okay, this is what you next need to do. Once the sticker out, this is step 1, step 2, step 3. That's it, and then they get the entire data set that they never had before, right? So
this is what TraX wants to so-called bring out the value of blockchain for your merchants, for your the brands, and right. And I think just now you rightly pointed out about that two ends. One is to serve the merchants, and the other one is to serve the consumers. Like what you mentioned, for merchants to collect the data that they haven't managed to get before leveraging blockchain. But on the other side, right, for consumer, I believe in the food industry, apart from alternative protein or the plant-based meat, which is getting a lot of attention, I think on the other hand, right, for consumers who are getting more and more health conscious because of the pandemic, right, they will want to know the importance of food safety and also brand transparency. So I believe what you shared earlier about digital traceability, this can definitely provide the so-called the reassurance to the consumers, and then this will eventually help the food brand to build up their so-called the credibility and the trust. Yeah, correct. So there are two sides of things lah. For you, definitely you want to serve your merchants, and also with that, right, consumers will feel safer consuming the food by the by the food brands. And also, if we have any food industry audience who are any audience who's watching this right now, we would like to hear from you via the Q&A box. Let us know what you think about leveraging blockchain in the food industry, or if you have any concerns or questions about wow, it's very difficult to implement blockchain, why it's so complicated, I don't know anything. This is a good time to throw your questions to Shoant and also Kenny as well. So just feel free to throw them into the Q&A box, and we'll circle back on the questions later on. But moving on to our next, anyway, thanks Shoant. So moving on to our next segment, we have Kenny, who will be sharing with us more on what AntChain is about, and some of the case studies across a very broad spectrum of industries. So I shall pass the time over to you, Kenny.
Thanks. Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Just let me give you a very quick introductions or about AntChain itself. Next slide. So I think a lot of people may think that blockchain is about technology or is IT itself, but to us in AntChain, we think that blockchain is not just about IT or technology, but it is a core capabilities that to chain up the industry and building the path for digital economy. In the past, we see that there's a lot of broken digitalizations where you see today's there's a lot of digital transformations which is very silo, where we see that after using the blockchain or any change itself, we can actually linking up or chain up the industry itself, and it can be repaired and basically bring the prosperities to the industry in the near future. Next, please. Yeah, so let's talk some of the visions of AntChain. AntChain is committed to be the core foundations of the digital economy. And basically, we are actually focused on a few areas where it's like finance, public services, lifestyles, right? Finance, we have a cross-border remittance, supply chain finance, logistic finance, trade finance, and etc. Where public services, we have financial bills, electronic receipts, capital regulations. Whereas for lifestyles, we have product provenance, charity donations, trust eKYC, digital copyrights, and etc. Right, so all these are basically running on a blockchain infrastructure service, or we call it as a BaaS platform, right? And what is AntChain Plus, right? What is blockchain plus? Now, we have more than 50 plus solutions that built on AntChain, which is already deployed in China itself, right? You can very much easily to see here is like one of it like offsite medical bill reimbursement in 1 minute, right? Instant invoicing, right? And also real-time cross-border remittance that has been implemented in the countries including Philippines and Malaysia. Okay, and blockchain, and why we say that the next coming is about blockchain plus is because we believe that not just about blockchain, but we also need to use some of others, like for example AI, IoT, big data to combine with the blockchain itself and make useful out of it. Next, please. Well, AntChains are continuously, number one for the past 3 years to be number one in terms of patent filing. So you can see that here we are ranking on the first for the blockchain application patent filing. And AntChain is not a open chain, but that is we are very much on the permission-based blockchain. Right, and also is being globally recognized. You can see that here, aside from some of the China recognitions, we also have like for example Gartner blockchain reports and IDC's Forbes and etc. Okay, so I'll share some of the case study here. I think where just now Sean has shared about the product provenance, which is the traceability itself. I will go more into details like, for example, digital rights, digital copyrights, and the rest of it. Right, supply chain finance, which is one of the quite famous or hot topics, in the industry right now, where a lot of people or even the SME will let through the blockchain itself, how can I join as a consortium or join as a members, and then whether that you have a supply chain finance that with the financing industry or financing arm, where allows that if today I get the projects, how can I assure that the my subcontractors are able to get the financing from this so-called the consortium itself, right? Previously, we see that when the main con was awarded with a project, and then basically they can only apply for the loan. But whereas when there is a subcon that in the picture itself, they may, or the second, we call it as a first level supplier or second level suppliers, they may have a difficulties because it is not able to support them in terms of getting the financing to complete the projects. Now, with the supply chain finance, this issue has been resolved because all the informations, all the documents has been putting on the chain to verify that it's the truth, right? So basically, the Mincon had awarded the subcontract job to supplier level 1 supplier and level 2 suppliers, right? And then they can actually, based on this information, and go to the financial industries and ask for, hey, I have all these projects on hand, and I would like to apply for some of the financings to support the projects, and where that is able to ease them in terms of financings applications. Next. Digital copyrights protections. I won't use this page to talk more on that. we go to the next page, which is much more easier to understand. Well, basically, today there's a lot of digital contents outside the world, right? In China itself, we have this so-called internet court sitting on top of these digital copyright protections, where if today you found out that anyone misuse your digital contents, you can actually file a complaint or file a court or a issues or a report to this platform itself, and then the internet court will take actions accordingly, right? So if you can see from the video itself, the original video itself, Jack Ma is lying on the left-hand side, but then someone take the videos and then do a flip of it and then move it to the right. Right, and also maybe someone is misuse and crop the image of the screen cutting of the pictures of the video itself and use it for their own use. Right, this is also can able to be detected using the AI technologies, and then we can actually or the users or the digital copyright providers can actually file the reports onto this platform so that necessary actions will be taken. Now, that is where these platforms will be able to protect the content providers or the content creator. Next, please. Right, product traceability. This is what just now Shoant has shared, right? So basically, we do why this product traceability is so important is because lately there's a lot of food safety issues, right? Or we're talking about cold chain, or even the anti-counterfeit things that, whether that whatever you buy is whatever you bought from the market, is it originals or is it fake products? What is the journey itself? Now, it's not just about using on the food, or even it's not just on the food itself, but it's also using on the pharmaceuticals, right? Healthcare and even jewelry as well, right? So this is a very kind of a broad of solutions where a lot of industries are able to get on board on this. So this is one of the quick demo, all right? So as of today, there are 4 billion products recorded on AntChain and more than 100 countries and regions that using this traceability solutions. We also covered over 150K product categories. This AntChain task is currently that what we are showing is on Alipay, right? So if today in China, you can use Alipay to do the scanning of the products that you purchase, either it's from Tmall or any of the products that have a QR codes of AntChain traceability. So it can very clearly tell you that what the whole process of the products itself, and then as a consumer, you will feel much more safe to consume and also much more understanding on the products that you have purchased. Of course, right? From a sales perspective or a marketing perspective, at the end of it, you can also allows your users or customers or consumers to do a gamifications on that, to improve the communications between the merchants and the and the consumer itself. Next, please. Right, this is another cross-border traceabilities that we also use. Basically, we have this milk powder as an example. If today, any one of us that go to Tmall and purchase one of the products, and they can actually have a scan of the QR codes itself, either it's a 1D or 2D barcode, or even an MSC anti-counterfeit chip technologies, right? So when you scan the QR code itself, it will basically check the informations onto the blockchain itself, rather to do the comparison whether that is it the same, is it the real informations, and then it will be able to share with you all the entire journey of the products, right? Where it is exported, where is it produced, and how this whole journey goes through, include your freight forwarding informations will be also made available onto this blockchain. So you were able to understand that the journey of the entire product, not just about the productions, but as well as the logistics information. Right, immutable prescriptions. Well, as I mean, with the pandemic itself, lately I see there's a lot of telemedicines come very aggressively, where a lot of us sometimes, when we feel not very well, we will just use the telemedicines from our mobile app, right, to seek the doctor advice, right? In this case itself, this is also one of the use case that we had deployed in China, where these telemedicines allow the patients and all the records to be recorded onto the blockchain itself. Now, why this is important is because when the doctor do the prescriptions itself, the information will then pass to the pharmacist. The pharmacist will then pack the medicines medicines according to prescriptions and sent to the patients. This is to avoid any mismatch between the pharmacies and the doctor prescriptions, right? So the first thing is to avoid any mismatch on this information. The second thing is allow the patients to understand much more on the medications that they consume, right? So basically, the patients can also do the counter check on the medicines, whether that is it as per what doctors prescribe, right? Because sometimes we are not that we're not that aware, right? It maybe the pills looks the same, but then it's just the prescription may be different, right? So what the users or the patients can do is have a better understanding that this item, okay, when they scan the QR code, is the same as what the doctor prescribed, and the patients were able to understand that also that what is the item that they are taking, and is there any side effect, or maybe it will cause drowsiness, and all these informations will be able to notify to the patients itself. Right, so I also share some of the Southeast Asia focus that we're currently doing, very much mainly on talent building, localizations, and ecosystem. Right, for talent perspective, next slide. For talent perspective, we have an AntChain open platform where it allows students, developers, and communities to come on board and use the platform itself. This platform can also be a sandbox as a test bed for enterprises or public sectors or even a fintech to do some of the testings or some prototypes onto this on these platforms. And we also encourage business partners or tech partners to come on board to build applications on top of it and share with some of the enterprises. And we also leverage this platform in terms of educations and training. Right. Next. And localizations, this is one of the parts which is very focused on, or which is very much addressed on this. We see that the blockchains are sitting on the cloud infrastructures, and then on top of this, on top of the blockchain itself, is the applications or solutions layer. Now we understand that there's a lot of the solutions that very much available in China, and we are moving out, or we are getting the solutions out from our HQ and deployed it to international to commercialize it and to benefits to the locals, right? But then we also understand that localizations is very much important. So that is where that you see, just like just give an example just now what Sean has presented, or Sean has the demo just now, where they are actually integrating with AntChain traceability as a service. Now it's actually giving them a very much easy way of integration, just using API integrations, and the applications that they built, I think they just use 2 weeks to actually complete the whole integration system. Now, so this gives a very comfort level to our technology partners that who want to understand or who want to onboard onto the blockchain, and yet they will still that they may worry that how difficult it is and how hard it is. So there are some ways that we are actually helping in terms of localization. So when we do localizations, basically first to ease the integration, second to make sure that these solutions are localized and suitable for the regions itself. Now, we're very much talking about ecosystem, and this is what blockchain is all about, right? We cannot do anything by ourselves, but we believe that with the ecosystem, we can actually build more stuff together. We can see that public sectors is one of the ecosystem that we're looking at. Financial sectors, manufacturing, SME, smart contracts, IoT, using AI, big data. These are all the ecosystem that we are looking at, to build in the region itself. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. Our Q&A box is flooded with a lot of questions. Very good. Keep them coming. Viewers will be answering all your questions very, very soon. And I see that quite a lot of questions are on digital health and pharmaceutical. Very interesting. It's something that I'm also interested, to ask you guys as well. And but before we touch on the the Q&A questions, regarding healthcare, there's something that's kind of like closely related, which is insurance. So like what Kenny you have mentioned earlier, how we can use blockchain to prevent let's say as in to digitally track the medical records, but also we can use blockchain to so-called prevent insurance fraud and also efficiently reaching out to the underserved market in providing micro insurances. So before we move on to the Q&A section, I would like to pass the time over to our next speaker, Keith from Hearti Lab, who will be sharing with us how blockchain is transforming the insurance industry. So Keith, over to you.
Thank you, Sihui. Thanks for having me on this conference. I'm glad to join and share some about the work about what Hearti has been doing. Hearti basically is a fintech company. We focus on insurance and some part of lending and credit. But the main area that we are looking at using blockchain is really about the immutable as feature of blockchain, the traceability, and of course the smart contracts that is available on the blockchain. What we want to achieve is to personalize insurance so we can match the insurance to an individual. We want the insurance to be dynamically priced, so different individual can enjoy different pricing model. We want to have the personal touch point where individuals know exactly what they purchase in terms of the insurance contract that they purchase, as well as managing the risk, like what Sihui mentioned, preventing fraud. Next, please. So on our platform, there is actually different modules that we built for insurance companies as well as partners to use throughout the whole insurance process. So there is product discovery, which the consumer can look for different products in the marketplace. There's customer service where we have chatbots to answer questions, FAQ for customers. Like what I said earlier, we have artificial intelligence module to actually price the insurance product based on certain events and certain individual customer. But coming into the last 4 modules, we actually built those on blockchain. One reason is because we want to make sure that blockchain is used in the right area. Not every area will require blockchain, but in specific cases, like for example, policy purchase, where there's contract between the insurance company and the consumer. Once there's a contract involved, blockchain plays a very important role in keeping the contract immutable. Nothing can change without each other's or the other party's knowledge. Claims management, because we want to automate claims, we are in the area of micro insurance, which means that the premium amount is actually quite small. So we don't want to spend a lot of cost verifying the claims and looking it through all the different insurance contracts. So the claims management becomes very important to make sure that all the claims are paid out efficiently and in a fast manner. And blockchain can come in with smart contract to actually monitor the different events that would trigger claims to be paid. Next, fraud detection, meaning once we check that the policy is genuine, no changes was made to it, the claims is genuine, and there's no fraud, meaning digital identities has been verified, we can actually make sure that there's no duplicate claims or double claim situation. And once that is fulfilled, the payment can be made. So payment is actually quite popular on blockchain as well, because you could actually tokenize whatever payment methods that you have, and you could actually deliver it instantly on the blockchain. Next, please. So if we look at the insurance claim process currently that is in the market right now, I'm sure a lot of you would have insurance policies, and you probably go through some claim processing that you hopefully do not suffer from that long claim process. I personally has gone through some of these process myself, so I know how painful it is, where you have to look at your contract, which is usually in a paper form. You fill up a claim report, and then you submit the claim for the insurance company to do loss assessment before the claim is approved and payment is made. But when you look at claim processing on the blockchain situation where the contract itself is already on the blockchain. A lot of these claim paperwork can be simplified where you have events that trigger certain claims. So for example, we are all in a lockdown situation and we are looking forward to travel. And recently there is this travel bubble between Singapore and Hong Kong. You probably would be excited to travel between these two countries and you probably bought your flight ticket. And in the case of risk management, you may want to buy a travel insurance. And just last week or a few days ago, we got news that this travel arrangement is being delayed, and therefore there could be certain delays in terms of the travel, or you may have to cancel your flight ticket. That actually such event actually trigger the payment of claims for the travel policy without you filing a claim, because this is a well-known event. It can be blocked. It can be actually locked on the blockchain. Smart contract can actually monitor such events, check against the contract between the insurer and the consumer. And if the event triggers certain claims criteria, the payment can be made immediately. So these are one example of shortening the claim process. Next, please. So when we talk about claims, a lot of times there is fraud involved. The most simple kind of fraud is duplicated claim submission. So I could have situations where I purchase two different insurance contracts from two different insurers. And when there's a claim, I will claim from both insurers. In certain situations, this is not allowed because the insurance contract clearly states that a consumer cannot profit from the claim. So you should choose one of the insurer to claim against. In this case, if your policy agreement or the insurance agreement is on the blockchain, the smart contract can actually monitor all the claims that is submitted on the blockchain. So assuming you submit a claim for insurance A, that goes onto the blockchain. I submit another, or you submit another claim to insurer B, that gets recorded on the blockchain. The smart contract can look at all these different claims and documentation and immediately flag out the duplicate claims that is being submitted to both insurance company by the same consumer. So this is also quite a simple example in terms of better fraud detection and much faster claim processing. Next, please. Yeah. So I've basically touched on 2 or 3 use cases for using blockchain in the insurance industry. And I'll be happy to answer some of your questions. I see some relating to credit and as well as payment. So anything that is to do with fintech or insurtech, I'll be happy to answer them.
Sure. Thanks, Keith. A very good comparison of the current state pain points versus the future state benefits, like what you have shared here. And also, just to add on, to build on what you have mentioned, I think in recent days, there's this new so-called modern and a more effective approach for providing motoring insurance based on the usage, what they call a UBI, right? Usage-based insurance. So, just adding on a comment, I feel that maybe this area could be, a potentially good area to explore leveraging blockchain as well.
Exactly, because yeah, just to add on to your point, a lot of insurance companies offering usage-based insurance policy. And we just now, I think the panelists actually also discussed about IoT and blockchain. That could be a motor sensor that is installed in the motor car to send information out to the blockchain and make sure that all the data is secure. And smart contracts can actually monitor and make suitable claims immediately. So that's also a good use case for blockchain.
Right, thanks, Steve. Anyway, since you're unmuted, we have a question here from Sunny, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Can I use blockchain for credit history of underserved customers, meaning their repayment details and their outstanding credit balance? So how do I go about developing it? Yeah, maybe you can take this.
Yeah. So I think that's the kind of question that is very similar in the financial industry, where you have records of data. either in terms of the outstanding loan amount that a consumer may have against their bank or their repayment records. And again, all this information and data can be stored in the block on the blockchain, so it's immutable. There's trust that this information is and then the smart contract again would be able to record any repayment and to calculate the outstanding balance for the credit. Once the full loan has been repaid, the loan can be finalized and closed off and locked onto the blockchain. So that's also one possibility that of a use case on the blockchain.
Okay. Sure, thanks Keith, and we hope we have answered your question, Sunny. There's one that's popping up. How could we use AntChain open platform in school? So I guess that's directed to Kenny. Maybe Kenny would like to answer that question.
Yeah, I think from open platform itself, basically there's a few things that we are doing right now. One is the academy itself. We are getting more and more this trainings or academies into this ecosystem as well. All right. It's not just about not just from AntChain, but we're also working with our partners that will build their solutions on AntChain itself. They will also be joining as part of the partners in providing the training academy. Definitely from schools perspective, right? We are very much open that to collaborate with schools or even universities to provide the training to the students or make it as a study curriculum to the school as well.
Okay, very good. And also just to add on, I believe we do have quite a lot of audiences from the education sector. So if you are, if anyone who is listening to this right now and you are interested to collaborate with AntChain, because since Kenny mentioned that you guys are, they are open to collaboration and partnership with the institutions, you can write to me and I will just link you up with the relevant person in charge of the AntChain partnership. So yeah, we hope we have answered the question about the open platform in school. And there's one that's quite interesting, and I believe it's quite a common question. Is there any other test cases available locally other than the mooncake? So locally, I guess you're referring to Malaysia, or maybe you just brought up the scope to Southeast Asia in general. Any other sector can blockchain improve other than F&B? Anyone would like to take this? I believe blockchain can be applied across a lot of industries apart from F&B.
Maybe I can answer that.
Yeah.
So for a start, right, mooncake is just the first case study that we're gonna do, right? But to implement traceability or blockchain technology, right, it can be in any industry, right? As long as the industry needed to be verified by one body or to be regulated. For example, there's a body that we are talking with is halal. Halal product have to be certified by this halal organization. So this is one area we think that how blockchain or traceability can help the industry, right? So of course there's still a lot of talking that we need to go in, but we foresee this is one very important industry that blockchain can help and improve in. And then the other one, I would say, for example, is pharmaceutical, right? As for example, let's say today or next year, the vaccine for COVID-19 will be here, right? After you have taken the vaccines, right? How do you trace the progress of the patient, right? To gather all this data and then send it back to the relevant bodies, right? For example, governments. Blockchain can also actually play a big role in this, in helping the regulators or the ministry to have an entire view of the data and analytics. So okay.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Is there anything that Keith or Kenny would like to add to the question, which is on how are there any other sectors which can benefit from blockchain? Which evidently the answer is yes.
I think from agriculture products, or lately we call it, we have a solutions called cold chain as well. Basically, it's like those poultry, meats that, who import, export, that, go in, out of China, which is also required to become traceable. All right. Agriculture products, fruits, durians, all those things, bird nests, are all currently we'll see that, a lot of them are on traceabilities. Vegetables, potatoes, yeah. So these are some of them that, which is have a certain value, or which is they would like to understand that, how does things, how does their products goes, and as well as meet some of the criteria of the regulations, then yes, they will be putting onto the blockchain. We also see that, aside from foods, F&Bs, we also see manufacturings, right? We're dealing with some of the manufacturing says that, hey, I want to understand that, my whole QC process or my whole entire manufacturing process are being recorded onto the blockchain itself. Why? It's not because of regulators that want it, but it's their clients that want it, right? As a clients that, they may have a demand, they say, hey, I want to make sure that, all your processes are recorded on the blockchain itself. Why? It's just because that, it's not changeable, all right? It's not editable, right? So you cannot tamper the data itself. And this gives a safe or a rest assurance to the clients when they purchase the products from the manufacturer itself, right? When, let's say, we talk about machines and etc. So we see a lot of use cases on the traceabilities in terms of in this area or in this region, not just F&B, but there are much more.
Right.
Just to add on to that, right? I mean, we are talking about traceability, and we are talking about industries like supply chain, F&B. Those are relevant in terms of traceability. But also even in fintech, when we talk about financing, you want to maybe collateralize whatever assets that you may have, and that could also be loaded up to the blockchain, just to make sure that there's no changes to the collateral, because those collateral that you actually present to the bank or to the lender, you need to prove that those are still relevant and still present in whatever state that you put in. And that collateral would be able to help you get a loan from the lender. So that also is another use case that is quite popular from a finance point of view.
Okay, thanks, Keith. Yes, for that question. Okay, go on. I am seeing a few. Let me just mark that as done. Okay, that's one. I guess maybe over here, I think earlier Kenny also mentioned about the AntChain University. There's another question about how long does it take to complete a course at your AntChain University, and is that free?
Well, the course, some of them come with free, some of them will come with the charges, as in the case that some of the are pretty much on hand-on courses. Their length, the duration of the course may be different, may be various from each of them, right? So we will have all this information published on the website at the later stage.
Okay. Okay. Since anyway, Kenny, since you're unmuted, and on the topic of cost, right? There's also another question asking if SME can just make use of the AntChain platform since it's open source to develop their own blockchain system and ecosystem. I mean blockchain system. Yeah.
Well, AntChain is not an open source. AntChain is a proprietary technologies. AntChain is not an open chain compared with some of the blockchains that are available in the market. We are the permission-based blockchain, or much more on a financial grade blockchain itself, right? So it's not a open source. Yeah. So for instance, like SMEs that use a blockchain, normally how we do is basically we engage with partners. For example, TraX is our partners itself. So they will build the solutions on top of AntChain, and then they will provide the solutions or the applications to the end users or to the SMEs to use it, right? So that will be much more able to help the SMEs rather than asking the SMEs like just now what Sean has mentioned, right? When he asked the customers to use the traceability that is on blockchains, like, you know, everyone is so panicked, right? You know, well, I'm just a mooncake sellers and I want to use blockchain, you know, everyone was on a panic mode. But then when we go into this entire process where you have applications in front and, you know, they were able to see, understand how does it help or improve the productivities, then that makes a total difference of using of blockchain itself.
Sure. Thanks, Kenny, for the clarification. And also maybe Sean, coming back to you, right? We have two questions here which are quite relevant. One is about I think there's a bit of the traceability function available upon scanning the QR code on the labels, or do we have to download the app to access the information? And then another question by another audience: what happens if the user doesn't scan a QR code? How will you track what like consumer actually purchase the product?
So I kind of missed your question, but I assume it's kind of is that question about if a customer didn't scan the QR code, what do they get, right?
So if the customer didn't scan the QR code, how would the food manufacturer know, you know, what kind of consumers purchase their product?
Yeah, that's a very good question, right? So what happens if the consumer don't scan, right? Basically, you get nothings, right? You couldn't get anything from the consumer. So as a solution provider, right, we have to provide an action for the consumer to scan, to actually encourage them to scan, and to allow the manufacturer or product owner to get some of the information willingly, right? So what we encourage, based on our case study on the mooncake, we encourage the mooncake to provide certain rewards, like a lucky draw. When they scan, they're allowed to have one chance of to play the lucky draw, to entitle to win a prize, so that they will willingly to scan and to provide the information. So as you can see, in my previous slide also, right, I did show you some generic QR code that people scan to know more, to get more information about the product. But those generic code, right, I would say, if I show that QR code in the product for you, we will go and scan it without anything.
To be honest, I wouldn't.
Right. I don't think that people will want to scan and for now, maybe in this region.
Sean, you're muted. Sean, you're muted. Sean, you're muted. Sean.
Hello. Can you hear
Yeah, sorry, you might have to go back to your earlier statement.
Oh, okay. So maybe let's go back to the problem that we China have faced and what people outside from China haven't been facing before. Like, for example, why food safety and traceability are so important in China is because I think many years back, right, there's a lot of all this fake milk powder or these fake counterfeit products that being consumed and cause a lot of illness, right? And that is why if you go to the more developed cities in China, there will be more people willingly to scan the product compared to those who stays in village. Why? Is because those who stay in village, right, do not consume all this canned food, all this packed food and everything. Whatever they consume are all directly from the farm. But compared to those who live in the urban, right, all this product can be easily counterfeit, can be easily fake, and then when they consume, it cause all these kind of problems. So comparing from China and let's say just use Malaysia as to comparison, Malaysian will not go and scan all this thing, basically just to check the source of the thing, because we didn't see these kind of things happen so much. Even I'm sure, remember there's one very viral content did by one of very famous CEO in Malaysia about Milo, the fake product of Milo. But actually, if you know, right, Milo in the markets, right, a lot of all these small kedai runcit, all these small places, right, that they're actually selling fake products, but they didn't know it, right? So how do Milo ensure all the products sent outside is the real one, or how do all these consumers, right, ensure whatever they consume is the real product from Milo? right? That's a problem that we have to solve. Either way have to give it. Like, is Milo have to give it a bit of a candy so that people will scan in so they get the data, or consumer will have to face all these big issue. They have no choice to always scan every product, right? So we are kind of in a safe area in Malaysia, always safe that even the fake product are kind of okay, it won't hurt you so much, right? So you don't feel it. But what if this gets serious, right? So this is the problem that we have to solve daily when we talk to our new clients or new members. It's always a debate that which to solve first and which to come first, right?
Thanks. And I think you actually answered another question that I wanted to direct to you as well. Somebody is asking you, like, since you have to, since blockchain involves a lot of parties, especially from the government and the consortiums, are you going to convince them to be on board? Or are you going to passively just wait for them to approach you?
On our part, right, we will have different kind of team in solving all these kind of problems. We believe that basically, if to make sure all these are fully regulated, we need all the ministry to come on board. But for all the ministry to really come on board, right, they will want to see what we are providing, what we have, chicken and egg kind of thing. When we go to all these normal vendors, they will say, okay, is the government on board? Then if we go to the government will ask who is on board, right? So that's the hardest part on us. It's a thing that we have to solve daily, and it's things that we want to do, right? So one of the things that we can do now is basically to because we know that to implement blockchain solution, right, is expensive, it's complex, it's time consuming, right? For SME, right, it's impossible for them to just come in and say, hey, I'm just a boutique fruit seller, right? He make fruits into canned food. It doesn't make sense for him to come and invest in blockchain technology so the product is traceable, right? So it's our job, right, to make this so-called very good technology, make it very cheap and reasonable for them to come in, and then they were able to enjoy the benefit in terms of members or in terms of technology. So it's our job to turn this as technology as seamless as possible for them to be integrated in all the small players, small SMEs.
Right, understood. So, to answer, whoever who posted this question, Sean has to be actively going out there to convince them, to pitch to them the values of, to start using blockchain.
Yeah, thanks to AntChain, they have solved the complex problem for us already, the technology part. So now we have to solve another complex problem, which is to address this problem to the traditional industry and to the digital industry, right?
Yeah, and then since you're on the topic of convincing the traditional so-called industry players or the incumbents to be on board, there's this question for Keith, because you're in the insurance industry. So what are some of the challenges or hurdles that you face when you try to pitch your solution to the insurance incumbents? I believe it's a quite common issue, pitching to all these big boys.
Yeah, I think Sean and Kenny would face this kind of issues as well, where there's a few probably businesses that's more traditional, or they don't really understand blockchain, so it's not easy to convince them to try out something new. But even if the education process has taken place, where the insurance company or banks or any merchants realize the benefit of blockchain, it is still something that needs collaboration. Is after all a network, right? So if you only have one party on the blockchain, it's not going to serve a lot of purpose. You probably need a few ecosystem partners to be on the blockchain. So one example is, if you have the insurance company on the blockchain, you probably need, if you are talking about health insurance, you probably need the clinics, the hospital to be on the blockchain as well, even the pharmacy to be on the blockchain, so that all this data can be stored and shared across the ecosystem partner. That's one key benefit of blockchain. If you're talking about motor insurance, you probably need all the motor workshops to be on the blockchain as well. So all these are real challenges, because first you have to convince your ecosystem partners to be on the blockchain. Even yourself as an insurance company is already convinced. you have to convince others to join. Secondly, who is going to take the lead, right? So, it's probably the insurance company or one or two major players within this ecosystem taking the lead. Third is the cost, right? So if you're talking about setting up nodes, in the private chain environment, let's say, all these running of different nodes could be, something that they have not budgeted in their business. So these are some of the major issues we face when we talk to customers about using blockchain to innovate and change the way they process their work right now.
Okay, thanks, Keith. And I'm just going to pick the very last question before we wrap up. There's one which is actually in a way directed to Kenny, but I'd like to just open it up to both Shoant and Keith as well. The question is quite generous. So where is blockchain heading next, and what is the next big thing? Maybe we can. It's a good question for us to wrap up this session. So maybe Keith, Kenny, Shoant, you guys can give a so-called your comment on this question. Who would like to go first?
Maybe I'll take that first, since I'm unmuted. So basically, from where I see in terms of blockchain usage in the finance sector, including insurance or fintech, that usage is going up very quickly. In fact, a lot of new fintech startups would start with blockchain as one of the consideration as a technology platform. So the reason is because the financial industry is really heavy on privacy of or the security of the data, making sure that there's trust within the industry. So blockchain already fulfill quite a number of the key criteria that the finance industry operate on. So that is why when we talk to some of these key players, they do understand blockchain already, and they can see quite clearly the future of blockchain. Some of them are already investing into the blockchain technology. That compared to like 3 or 4 years back, I would say is actually quite a huge improvement, because when we first started understanding blockchain about 3 years back, it's still pretty new, at least to me and my company. And it was a lot driven by the promises of blockchain, right? So what can blockchain deliver? Right now, we are seeing projects that actually went live and really delivering all those promises and value to the consumer. So I believe more companies and more developers and individuals will jump on board to actually develop their own blockchain technologies, or using a blockchain platform like AntChain to actually deliver their business to their customers on the blockchain.
Right. Thanks, Keith. So we heard you, the finance industry. And what about you, Kenny?
Well, I think from an AntChain's perspective, as I mentioned just now, there are more than 50 plus solutions that we has been deployed in China itself, and we are actually looking at how to bring these solutions and be localized in the region itself, right? We definitely see there's a potentials in this region, and we also see the take-up rate of people try to understand what is blockchains are able to help them. As I always say, right? Don't because people said blockchain, then you go for blockchain. Understand what the blockchain or what the solutions are able to help you to resolve your operational problems or resolve some trust issues, right? Which is we see that a blockchain is to resolve the trust issues by itself, right? And then we will see that also a lot of the markets that are picking up slowly, right, with some of the solutions that are rolling out, right? And definitely there's a good future of it. And yeah, we are looking for more partners and more technology partners to come on board together with us and provide more solutions in the regions itself, right? Yeah.
Thanks, Kenny. Yeah, so again, for those who are interested to partner AntChain, you can write to us and we'll just think of the relevant person in charge. And what about you, Shoant? Any comments about where you think this blockchain is heading, or what is the next big thing?
For me, I think even today, if I go out and talk about blockchain, right, people, the first thing will come up to them, right, is cryptocurrencies, right? Or I see all these kind of things. But for me, right, for us, I think three of us, Kenny, Keith here, we are solving a specific industry problem using blockchain technology, and we know the what blockchain can bring, the benefit it will bring for all the users, right? The next big thing I think blockchain will bring for everyone, right? It should be, I totally agree with Keith on the financial sector, because if blockchains are able to be implemented in all the fintech or the supply chain financing platform, all these kind of things. So at the end of the day, this platform will empower more SMEs, more businesses in able to operate their business or scale their business faster than we thought, compared to the traditional way they have to go to bank, apply for loans, and all these kind of things take times and sometimes are not accurate. But if this if fintech combining with blockchain will improve as soon, I believe it will bring a lot of benefit, not just from the technology integrators. It will bring a lot of benefit for all the SME and all the business owner in the region as well.
Right, thanks, Sean. I think we can all agree that the value or the benefits that blockchain can bring to the society or to businesses or to the individuals are, I mean, the potential are immense. I mean, we can definitely agree on that. So, on that note, thank you so much to, Keith, Kenny, and Sean for, sharing all these insights with our audience, and also for those who have been actively participating in our Q&A. Thank you so much. We hope we have answered your questions, and for those that we did not have the time to answer, we hope you understand that we have that time constraint there. Yeah, so we have come to the end of the session. If you have any feedback for us, or you'd like to propose other topics or any other speakers, please take some time to fill up the survey form, which will pop up after you close the Zoom application. Yeah, so I guess thank you for attending this webinar. Please follow us on our social media pages, and if you want to be in touch with our speakers here, you can write back to us, and we'll just do the what's necessary next. So thank you so much, everyone. I shall see you guys soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.